So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Galaxy S24 versus iPhone 15. Which should you buy? Now, I've had both of these phones since launch day, with the S24 being only, is it even a month? I think it's about a month here. We're coming up on a month for the Galaxy S24, but this is a pretty tough decision for those of you who like both platforms, but we're going to try to be as objective as possible and give some W's to Samsung and give some W's to the iPhone. We'll begin by talking about the battery life, which is going to Samsung here. The Samsung Galaxy S24 does feature a 4,000 milliamp hour cell. That is up from I think it's like 33 something on here. Might be a little higher, a little less, but the iPhone 15 has a much smaller battery than the Galaxy S24. Combined with the efficiency of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 8 gigs of RAM on here, the Galaxy S24 exhibited around 2 hours better screen time for me than the iPhone 15. Now, the iPhone 15, you can turn on low power mode and it'll get about a higher, maybe a 1 hour more, but that slows the performance down. But you can go ahead and do that. But that doesn't really matter because you can also use a power mode on the Samsung as well. So from the area of just pure battery life, the Samsung has the longer battery life in my experience. Okay, so 1W to the Samsung, but which wins in the cameras? Now, on the surface, you would see, well, triple camera, easy win, Samsung. But no, that's not the case. Actually, the iPhone to me has the better photography. It actually has the better results when you take the photo. The video to me looks a little bit better overall. If you just want to do pure, easy, high quality video, it's just always in focus. Nothing looks over sharpened or too soft. It's got an HDR effect as well. And it's just really a great overall camera system on the iPhone 15. If you're looking for that, definitely gives you almost pro level video and photo that you would have had on Pros of a few years ago, even better than some of those. So the iPhone wins in the camera, I would say, in terms of the actual results and video, but that's only because, Samsung has this thing where I'm feeling like they're over sharpening the photos lately. I do like it for just if you're the type of person who likes to go in your editor and sharpen after the fact, I do like that. But in terms of the video, 8K versatility here, and that really takes this up a notch as well. I also like how Samsung puts all the settings menu right here, and they have way more features. But the actual results to the iPhone and video, photo and video, I think just for the pure average consumer might like this more. But for somebody who wants more pro versatility, wants more versatility in that product, the Samsung is the easy winner. So I'm actually calling the overall round a tie, because while Samsung does have arguably sharper results, some people will like that. Some people don't like over sharpened. Some people will really like that Samsung has 30 times zoom. Some people won't care. But the iPhone still has better social media experience. The Instagram app still feels a little smoother when in operation, especially in stories. The photos on the iPhone just really good. Also, they go 10 times cropping in. And while Apple doesn't offer a ton of zoom, I feel like if they keep giving you more without giving you another sensor, it's going to be at a loss of quality. So I think this is pretty much an even round. I'm giving it to Samsung for the versatility, but Apple for the actual results. So if you want lots of features, you want almost a pro-like experience, go with the Samsung. If you want you want just really good results, but you're okay with a simple setup, the iPhone, I think, produces the better images. So that's pretty much how I would wrap it up here for the camera. Go ahead and take a look at some of my samples and decide for yourself. So here's some video with the Galaxy S24. So here's some video with the iPhone 15. When it comes to the displays and the display qualities, I'm actually thinking they're about a tie. If you kind of look at the bezels, they're basically the same. Well, the dynamic island is not as good looking to me. There isn't. Somebody said that it looks more modern. Why? Because it came out after this? I don't know. The punch hole is much smaller, much less obtrusive. But the dynamic island actually has features built into it. So that can make for a different experience. And if you never wanted to buy a Pro phone to experience the dynamic island, that's great. But from the actual saturation and color standpoint, Samsung actually has toned it down this year. And they already are working on an update to give you a vivid slider, which you're going to be able to boost this thing a lot more. So it's coming shortly. It's not available just yet on my phone, but it's coming shortly. So for now, they're pretty much a tie. But I think once Samsung launches that update, the Samsung S24 is going to go right back in the lead. But as of this video, it's pretty even. At the end of the day, if you like natural looking displays, you like these more comfortable 6.1 inch, 6 inch sizes, 6.2, you're going to really like these phones. They feel really, really good to hold. They're both super light in the hand. But this display for me is just pretty much a draw. Either way you go, it doesn't matter in that respect. But in terms of the actual smooth factor, this is what's going to push Samsung over the edge, and it's going to get the win overall, and it's the 120 hertz adaptive. They didn't put the 120 hertz adaptive on the iPhone 15. And for that reason, it's going to get the final overall W here, the win, because of the 120 hertz. And that's all it takes to get the win, because while the people say, well, it feels smoother, it's still not as smooth as a 120 hertz on an Android phone. So yeah, but the standard mode is pretty whack on the Samsung device. It's very, very choppy compared to the 120 hertz. So that's my take here on the displays. From the body and the design, I do feel like Samsung has kind of been doing like Apple has did this year, is kind of like giving you the same kind of a build as like last year. It almost feels identical to the iPhone, or kind of to the iPhone 15, but also feels very identical to the Galaxy S23. And S22 doesn't feel that much different either. So I think we need to shake it up a little bit on the next S25 model. They got the squared edges here, smooth bottom. This is a little bit different here. USB-C, SIM card tray right there. That's nice. We also have 5G antenna, power button, volume rockers. Overall, a smooth premium feel, but nothing out of the ordinary. I feel like the Apple device feels a little more comfortable than the Samsung this year, because on the edges, it's a little bit smoother here. So when you're holding it here, it just kind of feels smoother at this portion of your hand. It's just a more comfortable feel to me than the Samsung over there. And they're still at 6.1. Samsung, I think, went to like 6.2 here. It's just a hair bigger. And it kind of feels taller and a little bit less wide. So for me, I think the body is a little more comfortable on the iPhone 15, but very, very slightly. You'll see power button right there, silent switch, volume markers here, and a USB-C addition to this one, although not the fastest. Overall looks, though, I do like the symmetrical cameras here. They look better on the Samsung to me than these diagonal cameras. And you can see the Samsung logo there, Apple logo there. It's pretty much a wash in body and build. It's really just down to which brand you want, because to me, these are basically the equivalents from each side. So from the software experience, the Samsung device has the more feature-packed, by easily more feature-packed software. Tons of advanced features here. You are operating on not only the Galaxy Store if you want, you can also use the Google Store on here. So let's go over here and you'll see Play Store. So kind of like a regular Android phone here. And then if we go ahead and type this, do we even have it on here? What happened to it? I had it on there the other day. Let me see. You get the Galaxy Store available for this phone as well. I don't know why it's not on my phone right now. I don't know where it's at, but you get the whole Samsung experience and setup for this phone as well. If you go over here to hold down, you also get the theming options, tons of theming options, but Samsung took it to the next level with the Galaxy AI features. So if we go over here to advanced features, advanced intelligence, I really been enjoying the simple summaries AI feature, which will summarize an article, takes out the ads and just pops a little summary right there for you to kind of easily absorb the information and move on to the next. Photo editor, you have the interpreter, the Samsung keyboard, translate, real-time translation in the phone calls. Pretty neat. And then also you still retain Samsung's tried and true multitasking, pop view modes. No S Pen here, but DeX is still included without needing a cable. You just kind of need a monitor that is wireless and you'll be good to go. So you could turn this little pocketable smartphone into a computer. Now, the iPhone experience is still tried and true polish. It's minimal. It's simple. We have our nice app library, although a little bit choppy on that scroll because of the 60 hertz. In the App Store, tons of very polished apps. Developers seem to really make beautiful apps for the iPhone, and that's still the case to this day, although Samsung still has beautiful apps as well. I'm just saying. Very good here. The whole Apple ecosystem is sticky with the Mac and all that stuff. Widgets, but I think the thing that really holds people here is a lot of the communications features like the iMessage to FaceTime. Some people have already switched over to Android, but they continue to use an iPhone on the side just to do the communication. So that could be one of the biggest sticking points. For me, though, I do feel like the iPhone is still easier to use. It's more simple and probably more approachable to the average consumer, unless they've been using Android for years. But the Samsung is just so much more fun, I would say. It's more entertaining to use day to day. Although, it's getting kind of long in the tooth as well. It's been out for many years, so I'm not saying that there isn't great other options out there. There is. 7 years of updates versus 5. It's still hard to call it a victory because it's really subjective. Even with the AI features, Apple's going to launch iOS 18 with AI features, and then it's pretty much a wash once again. So it really is kind of a tie, depending on who you are and what you want to use. But I do think objectively, I think Samsung is putting more efforts into improving and changing the experience without really, making it hard to use versus Apple. I think they kind of just keep it the same all the time. So iOS 18 needs to be a massive upgrade. I really look forward to it, and I really think it is going to be the biggest upgrade in years. So when it comes to area of performance, while the iPhone is basically flawless every day with this A16 Bionic chip in this iPhone 15, it also has not the highest RAM. It's 6 gigs and a 60 hertz display. It still has basically perfect everyday performance. It really does. It's not a big issue whatsoever, but it is a little bit choppy looking, especially on camera, if you look at it compared to the Samsung. But I don't think anybody is really going to care. Most 15 users are very happy. Go look at the reviews on Google. Go look at the reviews wherever it's bought. It's always got well over 4.5 or 4 stars. So it's pretty well accepted at this point. And it's not really like the biggest deal, 120 hertz here, because there's so many Android phones on 120 hertz. But when you compare it to the Apple, it definitely feels like you're getting more for your money with that performance. Also, Samsung has improved the animations. You've seen in my speed test, they're now non-linear, so the whole entire system just kind of has a more buttery smooth effect. And while there is some chop on the initial scrolls, like when you go into an application, the scrolls can look a little bit fast, and sometimes that fast sometimes becomes choppy. It's only in certain applications, and it's not really Samsung's fault. I feel like some of the apps just aren't that smooth. But at the same time, they're still fast. So snappier, faster experience, performance feels better on the S24. Also, the phone has better gaming performance as well. So if you want to game, this one has better performance there. But there's something to be said about the apps, because some of the apps you can find on iPhone you can't find there, and some of them are super smooth here and not so much there. So again, it's super hard to call this a victory to either one, even though I feel like the Samsung has a better actual performance in gaming. There's still some games, and you got all your save settings and stuff in your game center. If that's you, it's hard to say go here. So I'm not trying to convince you to go either way. I'm just saying that objectively the Samsung feels more powerful, but the iPhone still has its strong suits as well. From their audio and speaker perspective, both of them are very loud. I would say the Samsung is slightly less loud. The iPhone has a decibel louder. Most people would never discern the difference, so it's pretty close, but Apple is a little bit louder here. Samsung's speaker doesn't sound quite as crispy to me as the iPhone, but when you turn on Dolby Atmos, then it starts to kind of match up. So again, very close. It's like every single area is very close on here on these phones. But see, on the Dolby Atmos, this just kind of leads to more what I'm talking about with the Samsung customization, the movie, the music, the voice mode, depending on what you are using your speaker for. But the iPhone right out the gate, very loud, very crisp. Phone call quality with the speaker is great as it is over here. So that connectivity standpoint, they're pretty much the same. Now, when it comes to the phone call quality, I do feel like the Samsung has a better signal strength, especially when you get in more areas where signal is not the strongest. I find it to dip faster on the iPhone with a little bit less 5G performance. However, both of them are very, very good now. And Apple's not like the Apple of like 4 years ago when they had terrible reception strength. It's pretty closely matched with Samsung with a slight lead still. Samsung also exhibits a better Wi-Fi performance, 6E and tri-band. We also have ourselves a 3.2 USB-C. That is a much improved over a USB 2.0 over here. SOTG transfer. This one right here is just 2.0 with DisplayPort. So much slower there. And also just one DisplayPort there. So that's about it. With this, you can wirelessly do DeX as well. So Samsung kind of has its strength with that one as well in the DeX area. Where is it at? We showed it earlier, but just kind of making your whole phone a PC. This is excellent. It really is. It's kind of cool though that with the iPhone, you can now just use a USB-C to a monitor and monitor your iPhone up there really easily as well. But it doesn't have its own software suite like the Samsung. Now, the Samsung also comes in more colors and custom colors, but you have to get those at the Samsung website. In addition, the iPhone has pretty good resale value though, so it takes the win there. The Samsung gives you a really good resale if you trade back for another Samsung, but when you start selling it elsewhere, they're not that great. So I feel like Apple still wins in that respect. So in conclusion, the Samsung seems to have taken more rounds here overall, but the iPhone, after a month here of using this phone, still feels very competitive. It just feels like it has a few less features that techies will definitely not like, but the average consumer might still pick this just because it's an Apple. It's just the way it is. I don't care how many features you throw on here. I think Samsung has a better case than ever before, and the user satisfaction rate is at an all-time high. So I think more people this year will consider this over this than before, but it's still a very, very competitive option. But if I'm being totally honest, Samsung wins this comparison. It just does. It just has more. And there's multiple ties in certain areas. But the Samsung has more objective hardware wins, in my opinion. And Apple has a couple wins as well, but they're not massive wins. Like the photos and videos are a win, the resale value is a win. But everything else, the Samsung kind of outdoes it in a lot of areas. So that's my take. You're going to be happy either way. But I think objectively the Samsung wins, and the iPhone definitely still wins for people if that is the system they want to be on, regardless if this has the better hardware. So let me know your take, which one you want to choose. And if you're still not decided, go ahead and comment down below. A lot of people will help you out. They'll share their experiences, their thoughts with you. You could chit chat about that. Maybe it'll help you further in your research. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. I will catch you on the next episode. And peace.